It's Thursday, March 22nd, 2029, opening day, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the previous season World Series winner that I forgot to mention in the last video. The Detroit Tigers, led by back to back MVP Colt Keith. I can't believe I'm saying that. God, I hope it happens in real life and Rookie of the Year Kevin McGonigal win the World Series against the Phillies 4-1. I'm in love with this team. They have an offense, they have pitching. They won 100 games. I can only hope that the Tigers can do that in real life. Let's move on, please. uh, where can I go? Okay, let's look at preseason predictions right now. The Athletics are predicted to win 87 games and have an average offense and a pretty good group of pitchers. Happy to see that. I mean, for the first time, we're supposed to be above 500. Now, the problem is the Mariners and the Rangers are ahead of us, but with this kind of record, we should be a third wildcard team, which we've been in very close proximity to that over the last 2 seasons, but we have yet to put it all together. Now, can our team of spare parts do that? We'll have to see. Beyond that, I do want to look at the offseason. I mentioned in the previous video the obscene free agent class, and there's still a number of players on the board here. Byron Buxton, Giolito, Luis Castillo, Michael Conforto. A lot of O ending names. Michael Hermosillo. Cool. Anyways, let's look at these deals because there are some big ones. Ronald Acuna Jr. Takes way less money. I mean, he kind of took a Braves contract to go to the Diamondbacks. He has been hurt the past 2 seasons. Let's see, is it more than the past 2 seasons? No, the past 2 seasons he's been hurt. But he's still a very talented player. Goes to the Diamondbacks for that amount of years in that term. Logan O'Hoppe gets a bigger deal than him at catcher to the Brewers, and the Brewers just spent a lot of money. I mean, come on. O'Hoppe's a good player, but I didn't expect Milwaukee to be that far out of character. Tristan Casas goes to the Cardinals for a good chunk of change. Casey Mize, that was a flurry of signings for them. Mize, Lively, Brnovich. Fun stuff for St. Louis. Spencer Strider goes to the Astros. We don't like that very much, but he's out for the first 7 months of the year, which is essentially the entire regular season. Maybe he comes back for the postseason, but I think Houston's a bad team, so I'm surprised they gave him this money. Whatever. Who's up next? Cavalli goes for 4 years, about $60 million. Anthony Volpe, 8 years, $247.8 million to the Minnesota Twins. Francisco Alvarez, 8 years, $252. I mean, just ridiculous stuff here. We do get Frelick. Torkelson goes to St. Louis, 1 year, $11.9 million. Ryan McMahon goes to the Nationals, 2 years, $27. Mitch Keller signs his own death warrant by signing with the Colorado Rockies, 4 years, $47 million. Hader to the Mets, Hicks to the Yankees, Hunter Green to the Nationals, 5 years, $100 million. Clase, Diaz, you can read them. We got Rodon, 1 year, $4.5 million, a really small amount of money compared to what was thrown around. Contreras to the Mets, 7 years, $116. I mean, I have never seen this much money thrown around in an offseason in this game. 6 years, $108 for Garrett Mitchell to Toronto. And at this point, it should be drying up, right? But no. Joe Duran, $22 million at closer for the Yankees for 2 seasons. Almost 23, really. What else we got? I mean, they're still going, man. Nestor Cortez, 5 for $87 to the Brewers. Dane Dunning, 4 for $48 to the Marlins. Now we're back where we were. Jason Foley, where did he go? $750,000 to San Diego. Oh, he's not that good anymore. Bradish, I thought about him. He goes 2 years, $9.2 to Miami. Brady Bassa, old friend, $1 million deal, 1 year to go to Milwaukee. Tanner Houck, 3 years, $29 to go to Toronto. Griffin Jacks, 2 years, $30 to the Dodgers. And assorted other signings. Shota Imanaga to the Angels. That's fun. Christopher Morel to St. Louis. And Garrett Clevenger, who I just missed out on, 8.7 1-year deal to the Mariners. I wanted him. We have kind of a shortage of lefties. What moves did we make? Well, let's go into the starting rotation. Talked about Rodon. He's fragile. 1-year deal. Captain. Happy to have him. Grindo in the number 2 slot. I'm not sure I put him there, but, let our manager do his thing. Joan Adon, $1.7 million one-year deal. We're just trying our best to fill spots with the limited amount of money we have. And with these 270 grade pitches, I thought Adon was the right man for the job. Mitch Spence comes back to the A's after being a Rule 5 pick in 2023, 30 years old, a captain. Really great season in AAA last season for us. Finally gets the call back to Sacramento in the big leagues. And finally, Reed Detmers. This was a trade that the Angels offered me. You can see that he is on the books for a nearly $19 million contract. And if we look at our salaries, it says we're on the hook for $14 million, which we are, but the Angels kicked us $8 million in cash. So we're really only paying him about $5 to $6 million. And we gave up Talon Bell, who was a draft pick a few years ago, Luis Orocha, Jorge Sandoval, and Grayson Bolus. 4 young pitchers, so I don't see a future in maybe Bolus. A lot of teams wanted him, but for a starter that's in the 5 spot, I'm kind of surprised he's there. Detmers, I think, is a good pickup. He was not great for the Angels last season. His last good year, you could say, was 2026, 183 innings, 204 strikeouts, but a 4.23 ERA. Really yet at the major league level for Detmers. Maybe the first 2 years of the sim, he was a fine pitcher deserving of this kind of contract. But right now, the Angels are paying him more money to stay away. So we take that against a division rival. Anthony Maldonado, still the closer after we traded Mason Miller. Maldonado, 11 saves last season for us in kind of a lackluster year. We hope he bounces back. Emerson Hancock in the setup role. Started a number of games last season, ended the season in the bullpen. Another guy that we're just kind of hoping for a bounce back after a tough end of the year. Cody Funderburk, his best season so far for us, 1.2 R-WAR, 3.18 ERA. Another lefty. I tried my best to get lefties, but we're short of them in the pen, unfortunately. And it's going to be, I think, something of need early in the year. Nick Frasso, righty, blah, blah, blah. You know him. Cutter Crawford, we signed a $1.6 million deal. I intended him to be a starter, but he's just not. So, interesting placement of him. But I guess we have a lot of starters. Iriarte, I might need to DFA him. Yeah. I think if he's in long relief, I'm okay with him. I need a lefty. I need another lefty. I just noticed that I only have one in the pen. So, who's the next up? Caden Grice, Christopher Sanchez, Jose Suarez. Sanchez, he's too good. We'll throw him up there. So, Sanchez comes in. 2 lefties in the pen, 2 lefty starters. Blah, blah, blah. The lineup is arguably the most interesting part because of some decisions we had to make. Bolte, you know him. Sal Frelick, I talked about him in the last video. Good-looking player, signed him to a 2-year deal. Hopefully, maybe, if Lawrence Butler falls off or if we have to trade him, he's entering his final year's arbitration. Frelick can step up and be another lefty outfielder that we have. Malloy, kind of a bench piece at this point, but he's a nice bench piece. Nunez at short. Cruz is down in AAA. Acosta filled out these positional ratings in spring training. He is a guy that I'm very excited about as a super utility. Bobby Hunter, another guy I'm very excited about, won the MVP in the Arizona Fall League with this slash line. Ridiculous. 371, 457, 647, 207 OPS plus, 2.4 WAR in 31 games. Manuel Pena, not a great showing in AAA or in spring training, but track record last year as a league average hitter and a great defender at second. Good stuff, bud. At 25, too, Bracco didn't hit well in spring training. He does not have a starting role right now, but Miguel Vargas does hit well again in spring training, and he's just kind of a slightly above average hitter and a good defender at first. Ronald Hernandez is the second catcher. Suzak is the starter. That rounds out the lineup. Talked about these guys enough. Now, down in AAA, Connor Griffin lit up spring training, but I don't know if he's ready yet. He needs a bit more seasoning in AAA, I think. I want to see it some more from him. And we kind of have a set outfield here. But, first move, he's up in the bigs. And now his outfield range is upgraded to 70. So if Denzel Clark slips, Griffin could be our everyday center fielder. Austin Charles down in AAA. Gregory Barrios, I added to the 40-man roster ahead of the Rule 5 draft, and that meant that Jacob Wilson needed to go down to AAA. Didn't do that yet, but Wilson, I think Barrios is a better player in the bigs with his defense, his eye. I just don't see it from Wilson. Didn't hit well in spring training, like I said. I gave him one last shot. I don't know if it's happening for him. Cruz is down just because of the crunch we have in the infield, and I wanted more bats. And Martinez for the same reason. He'll probably be a Vargas replacement next season. On the pitching side, I signed a ton of guys. Letson's still here. Brasseur, another guy, right up. He'll be right up as the number 47 prospect in baseball. Just kind of struggled in spring training. J.P. Sears is back. Jose Suarez. Who else? Joey Wentz is here. Cole Mathis back. Like to see him in AAA a bit. And at first, as well as a two-way player. Tanner Hall, Caden Grice. Alex Faedo we signed. Savale, Allard. And Arturo Rebollar, a Cuban reliever. All guys that we brought in. Faster look at the prospects down here. Hae-Chan Kim and Danny Spain are our two best prospects in AA at this point in time. And High A, again, kind of has a murderer's row of players if they choose to hit this season. Phil King, Chris Sinclair, Tapia, Emerson, Serpa, Huerta, Ayala. This will kind of separate the men from the boys this season and see who can graduate from A-ball up the minor league rankings. Zane Charbonneau, I think he might be ready for High A. I might move him down, but I think the ratings are good enough. Bob Sexton, definitely ready. TJ Venable now up in A-ball. Chris Welch. I'm being aggressive with these guys. Whatever. So, that's the team. That's the outlook. 87 wins, the projection. We will see if that holds. I am worried about the starting rotation. I am worried about regression on offense. And I am worried about this bullpen not being as high-end as we have grown accustomed to it being. Soderstrom didn't hit well in AAA for the Mets, or hit well in spring training for the Mets. What am I saying? And Mason Miller. Let's see what he did for Toronto. Did well. So we might get screwed losing Miller and Soderstrom, but that's the cost of doing business, cost of saving money, and shuffling some pieces in and out to flesh out the roster. Thank you for watching. Be back on Sunday. Thanks.